Director Dave Hart. Dave, how are you?
Doing good, Jimmy. Vince, good to be with y'all.
Well, thank you for joining us, and I guess this is you kind of relieved today to finally get this search over, I would think.
Yes. Well, more so than that, Jimmy, we ended in a very good place. I honestly believe that to be the case, and that's what you want. You want to feel good at the end of the process, and I feel good.
What sold you on Butch Jones?
Primarily the fact that he's won, Jimmy, everywhere he's been. And I think that that's a terrific indicator of a coach's ability to be successful. I also was impressed with the people that he patterned himself after, that he drew things from some pretty doggone good coaches, Urban Meyer and Brian Kelly and others. That's when you have that type of a tree, if you will, that's a good indicator as well.
Are you confident that he'll be able to assemble a strong staff that can compete and win in the SEC?
I am, Jimmy, and that's something that he and I talked about at length. And he was very, very candid and very good about it. And he knew that we talked about that. That was a topic probably we talked about more than any other singular topic. But Butch has a good plan. He's got some good people in mind that I think would be really, really good. But those are all his decisions, but I think he's headed in a positive direction there.
If I heard you right, didn't you say you met with him from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m.?
That's correct. Neither one of us have slept. But, you run on adrenaline. I said to Butch, we had our staff Christmas party last night, and that's important to me because it's our entire staff, from custodians and their families, and that's something that I didn't want to miss. And I said, Butch, let's meet in Lexington, and I'll get there about 10. And if we have to, we'll meet all night. Well, I told him today, hey, I was kidding when I said that. But we did. We met from 10 to 6 this morning.
Had you ever met with a candidate for that long of a period of time?
No, I haven't, Jimmy, and that's a good question, too. Now normally you do spend a half a day, and I'm very accustomed to that. You'll spend about 3.5 to 4 hours, but no, that's the longest I've ever spent with a candidate.
Why do you think it lasted that long?
Well, number one, we talked about a lot of different things, and number two, we condensed the negotiation in that window as well. So, his representative, who's terrific, really a good guy, really obviously a football guy, and we engaged, with him as well as Butch and I talking. We also had our representative and his, and so that we wanted to. Once the decision was made, once we had a real connection, and we did, then we also had to work on getting that done because I wanted and he wanted to move forward quickly, and so that it took all night for us to be able to do that.
David Spence, good to talk to you. You had mentioned in the press conference the importance of knowledge of the SEC. Butch Jones doesn't have that directly on his resume, but has some other knowledge. Talk about that lack of SEC experience directly.
And that's a good question, too, Vince. And he doesn't have, as you said, maybe direct experience. But on the other hand, he knows a lot about the SEC. Again, one of his mentors knows a heck of a lot about the SEC. He's recruited in SEC territory. He understands that this is a totally different deal. From a competitive standpoint, Butch talked last night about the line of scrimmage in this conference is unlike any other conference in the country, and that if you don't play defense, you can't win games in our league. So he has a great feel for what it's going to take to win games in this conference.
You had mentioned also sort of the challenges, maybe the competitive disadvantages that you guys have been working on improving at the University of Tennessee. How successful were you, do you think, in answering maybe some of those questions and addressing some of those concerns to him?
I think successful because, again, as I said in the press conference, just like we do homework on our end, those coaches do homework on their end, and I assured them that we had identified a lot of those things. We had exposed those things to the proper people at the university. The chancellor told me I don't want us to be at competitive disadvantages, and you're pointing out things that are valid. So, please propose how to correct them, and I'll help get them corrected. And we talked through those at great length. And we talked through the probation, the extended probation, which was the same case. And I explained that to all the candidates. It's nothing new. It was a previous staff, and it was the same case. And so you have to walk through a lot of those things and answer those concerns, because if you're a coach on the other side of the table, everybody has challenges, but you don't want to face unreasonable challenges that other people in the conference maybe aren't facing. So we cleared the air on all of that.
Our guest is Dave Hart. Dave, you know a lot of great coaches in the profession, whether it's Bobby Bowden or Philip Fulmer or Nick Saban. Did you consult with them about what it takes to be a successful coach either in the SEC or at Tennessee?
Well, I consulted with some coaches of that caliber, more on the candidates, because I feel like I too know what it takes now to compete in this league. So my focus, Jimmy, was really more targeted to the candidate, and I wanted to get some verification about those candidates in terms of how can they come here and do what we want done. And the coaches that I've built relationships with and that I trust, they were very honest, and they were very, very high on Butch and his ability to coach. To the man, they all said this guy can coach, and he's intense, but he has great rapport with players. He's a relentless guy out there trying to recruit. And they were very, very high on Butch.
I don't know if you're aware of this, but there was a report that Butch Jones had been hired at Colorado, and then it came out that he decided not to go to Colorado. Did you hear that report, and did that concern you at that time?
I didn't hear that report, Jimmy, but I did know that yesterday that Butch had the opportunity yesterday morning, to accept that job. And when I reached out to him and said, I understand where you are, but I'm not kicking the tires. I want us to spend an appreciable amount of time together. Again, Butch's definition of appreciable amount of time was a little more than I bargained for. But yes, I knew that, and was pleased to know that this opportunity, Jimmy, meant so much to him that with no guarantees of what that sit-down visit would bring, that he wanted to be at Tennessee. And that was very genuine.
So, Dave, just to clarify, you knew that he had an interest prior to your contact with him and setting up that meeting. You knew that he was interested in Tennessee.
I knew he was interested. I did not know until I got in front of Butch just how passionate and real that interest in being the head coach at Tennessee was.
Dave, I want to ask you about this, too, and I've never seen anything like this. I've been involved with a lot of coaching searches, whether it's football or basketball or others, but there were these incredibly wild rumors about John Gruden. How in tune were you to those rumors, and how much were you concerned about them in terms of this coaching search?
Well, you couldn't help but be attuned to the level that it rose to, and I reached out to John very early in the process, and actually had tentatively scheduled a day and a time, and then was informed through his agent, Bob, who was great on the, in terms of finally saying, look, that's not happening. He doesn't want to coach college. He loves Tennessee. It's his home, but he loves what he's doing. But, Jimmy, it was amazing that, they persisted even after that initial comment, until such time that Bob literally came out, and he rarely does that. He literally came out with a quote in an attempt just to clear the air on what was real and what wasn't. So that's really how that unfolded. And, I say this all the time, and I said it in the press conference, one thing about the searches, and I've never been offended by it, as I said, it is an opportunity for the fans to express their opinions, to express their passion, and so that happened for 2 weeks or better, I think, or close to that, and then they turned their focus to the fact that John was very happy doing what he's doing. He loves the University of Tennessee. Obviously, his wife was a cheerleader. We know the history there. But John Gruden is excellent also at what he's doing, and he apparently loves what he's doing at ESPN.
As good a job as Tennessee is, Dave, is it still difficult in the hiring process to get somebody to leave an established program? Because you don't see that a great deal.
Great point, Jimmy, and an accurate observation. You know, people are less inclined now to trade jobs, to trade locations. And I think Butch referenced it today when it's different if you're young or you're single, but when you have a family and you get roots someplace, you have to really, really be a person who wants a challenge. You be a person who's driven and wants to make a difference, to give up what you have, whether it's a beautiful home or friends and relationships that have been developed over the years that you live in one place. And that's what I really loved about Butch, his passion for Tennessee, his passion to be the face of our not only football program, but in this case of our university, and be the guy that leads us back to where we want to be.
Dave, what did you learn about the process of leading a coaching search in major college football?
Well, I've done it many times, not only football but basketball, and I know those are the most visible, clearly. But I didn't really learn anything that there weren't any surprises to me. But what Jimmy said is a very, very valid point. It's hard. Searches are hard, and Jeff Long's a friend, and Jeff texted me today, and I had congratulated him when his search came to a conclusion, and we both said, man, people have no idea, but these are far more complex, and it can be a very difficult and tough process.
Dave, how long was, if for some reason Butch had not taken the position, how long was your list after that?
Jimmy Hyams was the next guy on my list.
He's been recommended to us many times. Yeah.
And I wasn't sure he'd do it. But no, yes, of course you have to. As I said, you can't sulk. You have to have a plan, and you have to be willing to be patient enough and not get discouraged. And in this case, this is a great example, Vince, of that. We landed in a very good place, despite the twists and the turns that you have to anticipate, as Jimmy said, in these types of environments and these types of searches, particularly today, with all the immediate access and immediate expression of opinion. You can't be offended by that. You just have to keep working through the process.
One other question, Dave, we'll let you go, and we really appreciate you joining us. Assistant coach compensation pool annually, minimum $3 million. How important was that for Butch to make sure he had that kind of money to put together a staff?
It was actually more important to me, Jimmy, to be honest, because as Butch said, when I told him, Butch, look, we're going to give you the resources that you need. If you identify somebody who's the best guy out there, let's have a target, and that's how he operates. Let's not have a target of getting a good coach. Let's have a target of getting a great coach, and find that balance that you need to find. And we're going to give you the resources to put together the staff that we need at Tennessee to compete in the nation's toughest conference.
Dave, we appreciate it. Thank you so much for joining us.
Vince, Jimmy, good to talk to both of you.
Appreciate it.
All right, thanks.